Shari Redstone, who runs Paramount, is sitting here going, I mean, I got to save my company. It's my company or it's 60 Minutes. Which one do you want? 3 guesses which way she's going to go on that. So she's been trying to settle this $20 billion lawsuit with none other than Donald Trump, and understandably so, right? Because she wants to get this deal done with Larry Ellison's son, who's got Skydance, and they're going to put a huge capital infusion in, and this is what they need, right? Because you look at Paramount, which includes all those old cable channels like Viacom and MTV, and they do have Showtime. That's really good, Showtime. But then they got a ton of these sort of legacy cable networks that they've got to diversify away from. I mean, they really do. Why? Charlotte, thank you so much for your generosity. Much, much appreciated. I'm going to get to all of your comments, by the way, guys, at the end. But I just think that they've got to look at this and find a new future. And so Shari Redstone's like, oh, this is fantastic. I got this deal with Skydance. This is going to be the future for all of us. And yet, you know what? The FCC could be in the way of this, because the FCC might say, you know what, we're not going to approve this merger. And so from her standpoint, she's like, all right, let's get this thing settled with none other than Donald Trump, like fast, right? Let's make President Trump happy. Let's get this out of our way. And the news division doesn't really like that. So take a look at what happened. You know, the drill, the 60 Minutes producer, he quit like 2 weeks ago. And then the guy who was his talent, as they call you in the industry, his talent that he produced, Scott Pelley, went on television and was like, oh my gosh, and gave this big, well, you know, our employer is trying to do a deal with Skydance, and because Paramount, our parent company, is trying to do this deal, and they're worried about whether or not Donald Trump's going to approve it, this is what's happened to us. And now Bill Owens does not think that he can actually have editorial independence anymore, et cetera, et cetera. So he kind of sticks it to his employer. He sticks it to Shari Redstone. She's sitting there going, oh my gosh. Now the word is Shari has actually put in charge a woman named Susan Zirinsky, who used to be the president of CBS News and actually ran 48 Hours and kind of just gets which way the wind blows. In other words, she's still a journalist with a capital J, but she understands that this is a business after all, and you probably don't want to be mucking things up right around the time you're trying to get the merger going, because if you don't have the merger, it is very possible that the entire company, Paramount, goes away. It can't survive in this new environment without this, you know, this merger. So Shari Redstone, Variety had a good piece, is trying to look at this and make a decision, and they're equating her with the Godfather too, you know, where they have to make a decision and one of them has to go. And the prediction is it's going to be 60 Minutes that has to go. In other words, you're not going to let the entire company fail, nor should you. Shareholders don't want that because of a bunch of people over at 60 Minutes that have their view of the world and are stuck in this TDS on steroids environment. Do not forget what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. This is the clip. You have Kamala Harris with 2 different versions of an answer. Speaking with a 60 Minutes reporter, they were stupid enough, however, to release the original version on their Sunday morning Face the Nation show. So by the time Kamala showed up on the airwaves Sunday night, the answer had been dressed up, cleaned up. You got to hand it to the editor who managed to edit this thing and made it sound like something. I mean, wow, this is word salad turned into something decently eloquent, to which Donald Trump is suing them because he's saying you interfered with the election with that. You're trying to make her into somebody she's not. Here we go.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
I'm telling you, that editor deserves the Emmy. Remember I told you on Friday, they're now nominated for an Emmy for that interview. My goodness, it's like the whole industry is really trying to stick it to Donald Trump and perhaps to Shari Redstone to a certain extent. But my prediction is, you know what? Shari's going to go where the money is. She doesn't really have a choice. You're talking about an $8 billion company that basically is going to go down because some producers at 60 Minutes want their way. I'm sure I can just see Good Night, Good Luck, right? The George Clooney film on Broadway, or play on Broadway, where he's playing the part of a CBS journalist and thinks he's just the cat's meow, for goodness sakes, and everybody taking the part of the journalists in this. I mean, are they really journalists anymore? When you cut up a soundbite like the one I just showed you, and you reinvent it into something else entirely, how much of that is really journalism and how much is selling? Right? You were selling a candidate at that point. You wouldn't have done the same thing or afforded the same privilege as Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? No. They did that for Kamala Harris because they wanted Kamala Harris to win. And they just keep beating up on Donald Trump as much as they can. So to me, that's really not journalism. At the end of the day, that's something else. I remember I did an interview right around the same time 60 Minutes did an interview with Donald Trump. And my interview, I was like, oh gosh, did he have to do that? It was like a Sunday with Leslie Stahl. And I think I was there at the White House on Monday. Turned out my interview made a whole lot more news because he was bashing the Fed and a few other things. And he kind of got a kick out of it. I remember we were talking after and he's like, you know, your interview actually did a lot better and had a lot longer legs. It got a lot more attention than that interview I did with Leslie. And what he was most struck by of all was that of the, say, 30 minutes or 33 minutes that he gave me on camera, I ran the entire 33 minutes. And 60 Minutes, on the other hand, came in and maybe shot for an hour, 2 hours, however long. And then they only ran maybe 5 minutes of what he had said. And he was like, you ran the whole thing, Trish. And I'm like, well, of course, Mr. President. I mean, I have the President of the United States to sit down with. I have an hour of show. Why wouldn't I? If you had given me 2 hours, I would have run that over the next two nights, an hour a pop. Because to me, that's authentic. Actually seeing it in its raw form, as opposed to the cutting up and the massaging, and then the the reporter comes in to voice something in the interim. That's what they do at CBS. That is old-fashioned television, okay? In the new world, we're right here. We're streaming. I'm live. I have no scripts. I kind of have an idea where I'm going. I have a few elements I want to talk to you about. But the reality is this is all live. It's all real. And authenticity is, I believe, what people actually respond to, which is how we've been able to create this channel with 730,000 subs and 98 million views. Wow, I still can't get over that. From last month alone, that's thanks to, hopefully, my authenticity, my realness, and your appreciation for that. So that's the new world in which we live. And I think that CBS News versus Paramount, they're in this civil war there. And Paramount, the parent company, is saying, okay, we got to survive. CBS is like, but we have TDS. And they're like, get over it. Get over it, baby, right? We're moving on. The world moves on. And if they don't move on, then the whole thing really is going to fall apart. So my expectation is they're going to settle that with Donald Trump. My expectation is 60 Minutes is going to go away. Okay? And that was what I told you on Friday. And then this article came out. This is actually Brian Steinberg writing in Variety that, they've got to make a choice. And I'm telling you, the choice is not going to be for 60 Minutes, which makes no money. Okay, the choice is going to be for the survival of the company. If you're a shareholder in that company, that's the choice that has to be made. That's what you want.